This is Covering the Spread, part of the FanDuel Podcast Network.
It is now time to decide who will be participating in Super Bowl 59, because on Sunday we got a pair of conference championship games, the Commanders and the Eagles, followed by the Bills and the Chiefs, two delightful games. Today we're going to break down both those to get you set for it should be a fantastic weekend of football. Here to do that with me is Meghan Payton of FanDuel TV. We're going to talk to her about both those games, identify what she's seeing from a matchup perspective in both those, and get her best bets for this weekend at FanDuel Sportsbook. Welcome on into Covering the Spread. That's right here on FanDuel Research and FanDuelResearch.com. My name is JimSannes. I am a managing editor for FanDuel Research, joined here as mentioned by Meghan Payton. You can find her on X at Meghan Payton7. Check out her work over on FanDuel TV, where she'll be on air this afternoon over on FanDuel TV. Meghan, appreciate the time as always. How you doing today?
Jim, so good. It's crazy when you put it that way, that this is the game in which is leading us to Super Bowl 59. I feel like the season really did fly by, but what a crazy weekend it was in the divisional round. So as a football fan, you just have to appreciate it. As a betting person, some ups, some downs, but I think hopefully we'll get another good weekend of football and hopefully get some good bets.
I think we will. I show value in both sides and both totals. What could possibly go wrong with just two games at our disposal for this weekend? We're going to dive into both those games with Meghan, pick her brain on where she's seen value, and get you ready for the conference championships. But first, a reminder to make sure you are subscribed to Covering the Spread wherever you get your podcasts. I broke down my model's thoughts on both these games back on Monday. We'll also have a player prop show with Aiden Cotter tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern on the YouTube page, but up on the Covering the Spread podcast feed as well. So if you want some thoughts on some props for both these games too, make sure you check out that show tomorrow on the Covering the Spread podcast feed. Check us out, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. If you like what you hear, leave us a 5-star rating and review as well. Don't forget as well, we are live on the YouTube page. We're going to have our DFS show coming up in just a bit, actually. It's going to be at noon Eastern on Thursday. So if you're watching YouTube, stick around and watch the DFS show. We're Brandon Gadula now. We'll break down both these games from a DFS perspective as well. Turn on notifications on the YouTube channel to get notified as we go live each and every time. For the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel takes the NFL playoffs to the next level, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's $300 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same game parlays, and so much more. Plus, when you win, you'll get paid instantly and get started with $300 in bonus bets. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, an affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in DC. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat Connecticut. Visit M&T Gambling Help.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Now, Meghan, let's take a look here at the first game, the NFC Championship between the Commanders, that feels weird to say, and the Eagles. Right now, FanDuel Sportsbook, Eagles favored by 6.5 out from 5.5 earlier on this week. Total sits at 47.5 right now. The Commanders pulled off another upset in that big win over the Lions last weekend in fairly convincing fashion, but now they're facing another tough opponent in the Eagles, this one also on the road in Philly. So, Meghan, can Jaden Daniels do it again and help the Commanders cover a 6.5 point spread here?
Have we seen crazy? I was going to say we've seen crazier, but also we've got a rookie quarterback that's in talks of going to the Super Bowl after the previous year, the team only winning 4 wins. So I've been blown away by the Commanders team, been blown away by Jaden Daniels, everything Dan Quinn is doing, everything this team has done in the last, call it 9 months to get to where they are now. So with that being said, I'm hesitant to bet against them. I do think Eagles win this game. Obviously, two opponents that know each other really well. Commanders did beat the Eagles in the last game of the regular season against them, but Kenny Pickett had to come in, so it was a little bit of a weird one. And Eagles really could have won that one as well. I lean Eagles. I do have Eagles to win on the money line, but it's minus 290. I did throw a ticket in the Commanders to cover here at 6.5. I could see Washington keeping this really close, and also like the defense has to step up, and we're seeing some of those big key makers. We saw it last week. I think that we could be looking at some interceptions props as well. One of the guys I think is going to be the biggest X factor in this game is Dyami Brown. He's their, explosive receiver. And if you look at Terry McLaurin's stats against the Eagles, it really hasn't been great. He's combined for just 70 yards in 2 games. So I think in order to keep up with an explosive offense like Philly, who's got guys like Saquon Barkley who can go for over 200 yards, you've got to have some big time plays. And so Dyami Brown over his receiving yards is where I'm looking. The number is at, I believe, 44.5. And I think that we're going to see some deep balls thrown to him.
Yeah, 44.5 is the number for Dyami Brown in this one. He was a big piece in that win over the Lions. Pretty big piece as well in their win against the Buccaneers. So Brown in the playoffs has really shown up in a big way for the Commanders. Want to go back here to the spread. Plus 6.5 is minus 120. I agree with you that there's value in the Commanders money, or the Commanders plus the points here. I had a Freudian slip, so I actually did take their money line too. So I do show value in that as well. Plus 235. It's just because this offense is so good. And I feel like that keeps them in all games. And let's say they fall behind, like they did in that Kenny Pickett game. Yes, they won in part because Jalen Hurts left that game early, but also this offense turned the ball over 5 times and still put up 30 plus points in that game. If they don't have those turnovers, I'm kind of curious what they do there. Other thing that I saw that I liked, Megan, in that Lions game is their ground game got going again with Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler, and the Eagles had some troubles against Kyren Williams in the divisional round. So I do think the Commanders, I think they can win. I have the Eagles favored by 3.6, so do agree the Eagles should be favored here, but I think they keep it close enough. So I'm on board with you at the plus 6.5, just because I do think we saw some vulnerabilities in the Eagles last week, and the Commanders are just an offense that can keep themselves involved in pretty much every game right now.
And when you have an offense that's like that, you really shouldn't be 6.5 point underdogs.
Right.
That's kind of my thought too on the spread is we've seen them come back from, really throughout the whole season, times in which they were down significantly, and you start to rally back. And now with that improving defense, which to me was the biggest concern for Washington. And yes, I know you can look on paper and say, well, the Lions still put up, 31 points last week. However, they were creating turnovers. They had these big time plays, sacks, everything you need in order to win games. We've talked about it all postseason, and it'll make sense too with the AFC Championship. Turnovers are going to be the biggest factor in both of these games. It's been the trend through the playoffs. If you win the turnover battle, you win the game. And I think that on the defensive side for Washington, that's going to be their biggest thing. But of course, Philly has guys like Jalen Carter, and they're doing well on defense, better than Washington. So you're going to have to depend on some big time plays on offense. And I guess I wouldn't encourage anyone to lay the points with the Eagles. I'm hesitant to take Washington on the money line. And so that's why I've just landed on, all right, let's indulge in some of the prop bets and take the Commanders to just cover at plus 6.5.
And you mentioned Jalen Carter. That's my biggest concern here for the Commanders, is that there's no Sam Cosmi, their right guard. He is their clear, most talented player. Cliff Kingsbury, to his credit, has done a good job of mitigating offensive line concerns, both with Arizona and now with Washington. They don't have a lot of talent there to begin with, but losing Cosmi, I do think, matters when you are facing this interior defensive line. That's my biggest concern for the Commanders is, what happens with the Cosmi injury, given the fact that he's facing Jalen Carter. His backup is now facing Jalen Carter there. Now, you mentioned Dyami Brown, receiving prop there, 44.5. Over for him is minus 114. Lots of involvement racing for him. Makes a lot of sense. Any other props you're looking at for this game?
We can't not throw in a Saquon bet. It's we all lined it last week, 150 plus. I should have outlined it all the way up to 200. Now the books have Saquon at 125.5. And I know that feels like a crazy number to take an over on, but I genuinely think Saquon's going to do what he did the first 2 times playing the Commanders and what he's done essentially all season long. I know some people, might see more value in the rushing and receiving yards, but I just think keep it simple with 125. He went over this number both times playing the Commanders. Insane performance last week, over 200 rushing yards. He's been, for me, the MVP of the entire year, and I'm not going to stop betting on him now. I think that it's really tough to find ways to stop a running back when you've shown you can't. And so we kind of talked about those trends and stats just from a game 1 to a game 2, but even a game 3, it's like if you can't stop him, you can't. So what else can you do, to eliminate maybe the passing game and try to attack Hurts more? But I'm still riding with Saquon. I'll take 125 over.
Yeah, and if you look at the full season, in games where Hurts was fully healthy, Saquon averaged 125.8 yards per game. And that includes games where they were up like 40 points against the Cowboys in the second half. So Saquon didn't play much in the second half there. It includes a lot of games where they weren't pushing him all out like they have been during the playoffs. So I definitely think that's an intriguing number for Saquon Barkley, over 125.5 minus 114. I just want to see how high the alts go on him.
Let's
just out of
curiosity.
curiosity.
Let's just tempt ourselves with a little alt market, right?
200 plus is plus 850. That is the fact that they're even offering 200 plus shows you how much of a psychopath this guy is right now.
But honestly, then the other, my mind goes to the fact that it's plus 850 and he just hit this last week. That's right. Intriguing as well. It's still at a decent number given the history of Saquon. And I know obviously that's going to be the thought process for Dan Quinn all week is how do you stop Saquon Barkley? But sometimes you can't. And so sometimes you have to find ways to eliminate other parts of that offense.
Yeah, exactly. So checking out some Saquon props in the all markers potentially, but also baseline prop 125.5 over is minus 114. And then the De'Ami Brown number 44.5 minus 114. Megan, look at the points with the Commanders as well. Let's talk now about the big banger. It is the Bills and the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game right now. FanDuel Sportsbook. Chiefs are slim favorites, minus 1.5. They are on minus 126 in the money line. Bills at plus 108. Total in this game is at 47.5. And you were on the Bills last week, and they came through for you. Tight win there over the Ravens. Are you on them again as slight underdogs, or did the Chiefs win yet another AFC championship?
Jim, this is terrible. This is so we do not want to see the Chiefs in the Super Bowl just as a football fan. And so how do you let these biases, every football fan has of, we don't want Kansas City in there for the most part, unless you're a Chiefs fan, you're saying, no, we want to see the Bills. We don't want to see an Eagles Chiefs Super Bowl. We want to see something else. Right. How do you not let that affect, your betting strategy? And I do think that there is value on the Bills. Look, I absolutely see a world in which the Chiefs win, obviously. This is the prime spot for Kansas City. The Bills have beaten the Chiefs the last 4 regular season games, but the Chiefs have won all 3 playoff games against the Bills. It's just what Patrick Mahomes does. It's what Kansas City does. The fact that Mahomes has made it to an AFC championship every year since he's been a starter is not only unprecedented, it's historical. Given that, I'm still going to take the Bills. I'm going to take the Bills on the money line. It's 1.5. We're taking them on the money line at plus 108. And it goes back to the turnovers. Both of these teams are playing clean football, and it's a good reason why they're both in this spot. However, the Bills have been playing a bit cleaner football for longer. So, when we think of Josh Allen historically, it's like, but he's due for an interception. We haven't seen that. The Bills have been really good about keeping the turnovers non-existent. So I like the Bills, and I like the over. So if you're kind of going back and forth before we get into these player props, I think that there is value at 47.5. It's gone over this 4 of the last 5 times the 2 teams have played. The Bills averaged nearly 28 points per game on the road. The Chiefs over 28 points, a shootout in the making. Of course, it's Josh Allen, Mahomes. And so just in terms of total and side, I do think that there's value, of course, on the Bills and then the over.
All right. So I mentioned that I have value in a total and a spread in every game. The total in this game, over 47.5. The spread in this game is the Bills money line at plus 108. So we are in lockstep there. And I want to ask you about this, Meghan, because I was surprised to see the market settling where it is. On Sunday night, after the Bills won, I saw plus 104 on the money line. I took that plus 104 on the Bills because I thought, okay, I think they're going to close at like minus 112, so minus 110. That'd be a coin flip effectively for this game. So I jumped at plus 104. That obviously has not worked out for me because it's moved the other way. Are you surprised? Like, independent of you think the Bills win this game, are you surprised the Chiefs are the slight favorites here?
Not really, just because of the fact that Kansas City's at home, the fact that we're probably seeing a good amount of money. Well, actually, the money in terms of if it's coming in on Kansas City and Bills, I guess that wouldn't affect it too much. But the fact that the Kansas City's at home, the fact that it's Patrick Mahomes and they've won every playoff game against Buffalo, and the fact that I think that we all started talking about this Ravens-Bills game towards the end, and it became the Mark Andrews game, clearly, and him kind of fumbling at, like, not literally, but dropping that 2-point conversion. And we kind of forget about, the Bills did slow down a little bit towards that end of the game. We had a lot of injuries on the defensive side. It looks like most of them will play, but so they're a bit more banged up than Kansas City is. I don't think it's enough to make you not bet against Buffalo, because everything we're hearing from the practice report seems like Matt Milano is going to be a go. Maybe you're dealing with bumps, bruises, but who isn't this time of year? So I'm not surprised, but I also like it because I still do think that Buffalo will win, and I like it at plus 108.
Yeah, the big one you were alluding to there, the injury, is Christian Benford, their corner. He's in concussion protocol, but as you said, did get into limited practice on Wednesday. Typically, if you're limited Wednesday in concussion protocol, you'll typically clear by Sunday. So I think that I'm leaning towards him playing right now, which definitely does help things. Would downgrade the Bills. I'd still them the slight favorites if he were ruled out, but was a bit surprised by that for sure. But we're in lockstep on the over, lockstep on the money line. So where we're looking for props in this one, Meghan?
Okay, a couple props I like. We're going to start with Khalil Shakir. I think Khalil Shakir is going to be the biggest playmaker of the game. And right now, his actual line, it's set at 55.5, right? But I like it alt lined. I think that you could take 70 or more for him. He had 70 yards the first time they played, or in week 11. He was targeted 11 times, caught 8 of those passes. And really, Shakir's just a guy that does great in zone coverage. He can find those soft spots. I think that we'll see Kansas City leaning on that zone game. And I just think that Khalil's going to be, find that success in the slot, find the success that we've seen him have against Kansas City. And at 70 plus, you're getting it at plus 172. So it's a nice number. And I really think that we're going to see Josh Allen air it out just a bit more than we saw in the divisional round.
All right. So Khalil Shakir right now at FanDuel Sportsbook, 55.5, the baseline number. As you mentioned, 70 plus is plus 172 for Shakir here. I've not checked this yet. I've not done my obligatory check on the Josh Allen anytime touchdown. Minus 105 is fine, I think. If we're on the Bills money line, the over, minus 105 makes sense. The Meghan Payton special for Josh Allen to score 2+ touchdowns, cashed again last week. 7-1, they're starting to get wise to it. So like they're getting there, but like, I at least have to look, right? We got to check it out at least, right?
You have to do it. So, of course, that was going to be the second one, is the Josh Allen anytime touchdown, and throw in the 2+1s, a little sprinkle. And you're right. It is shortening on because they're getting on to us here, that maybe they're watching the show.
Right.
I also do like Josh Allen over his passing yards. Now, I took it last week. It didn't hit. They played pretty conservative, Buffalo did, and it worked out for them. I don't think that that's going to happen this week. I think they will rely on Josh Allen a bit more. And you look at his stats against Kansas City, it's well over on average what the baseline is here now. If I like the over and I think that a shootout is in play, I don't think that you're going to be able to just rely on guys like James Cook or, Ty Johnson. You're going to have to air it out with Josh Allen. So I found value on the over for Josh Allen. Obviously, we like the anytime touchdown for him. And who's he going to be throwing it to? Khalil Shakir.
All right. So Josh Allen over 230.5 passing yards. Khalil Shakir 70 plus receiving yards. Plus 172. Bills money line plus 108 over 47.5. I think all those sound delightful to me. That is all that we have here for today on Covering the Spread. As mentioned on the YouTube side of things, just stick around. So we got the Heat Check coming up at noon Eastern, breaking down our thoughts on DFS for this final two-game slate of the year. Tomorrow, talking player props as well with Aiden Cotter here in the same place. So go to the YouTube page, turn on notifications, and leave us a thumbs up. We appreciate those who have done so as always. Meghan, I appreciate the time. Enjoy the conference championships. Have a blast watching the football. Good luck to you with your bets. We'll talk to you once again soon.
Thank you so much, Jim. Crazy that the next time we'll be doing this, we're going to be previewing the Super Bowl. So good luck with the bets this weekend. Let's root against the favorites, maybe.
Yeah, my wallet would like that for sure. That is absolutely for sure. You can find Meghan on X at Meghan Payton 7. I am on X and Blue Sky at JimSannes. You can find FanDuel Research on X at FanDuel Research. Big thank you to our YouTube producer, Justin Lane, for his work on the video side of things. Thank you, Justin, as always. And thank you to everyone for tuning in. Good luck to you with your bets in the conference championships. We'll talk to you once again tomorrow, talk some player props for the conference championships. This has been Covering the Spread, a FanDuel Research podcast.